完璧などありえない。この世界は不完全。だから美しい。もう
バカ。
何？
俺は海賊王になる。なんて美味しさなの。
力を渡した時に言ったことを覚えているかい？食え。違う、そこじゃない。
変態。遅い。
Hello and welcome to More Than Hentai. A podcast is here to show that anime is just far more than tentacles and cat girls. There's also countless stories of love, loss, laughs, hope, horror, and happiness that are just dying to be found. And I, Brendan White, the Salt and Pepper Senpai, am here to help you find them. More Than Hentai is proudly powered by our friends over at Audio Technica and Dashwater, so please go upgrade your audio and hydration games today, but preferably after you listen to this absolute humper of an episode that's about to come into your earholes. Joining in the studio this week is a returning guest who was last seen chatting with me about 2023's underrated supernatural comedy smash hit known as Undead Unluck, who were not found streaming and creating many fantastic pieces of content. Can also be found working on his next great podcast idea, which I hope is coming our way much sooner rather than later. You can find him on them socials at Zombies Love Bacon. That is ZOMBIESLVBACON. Zombie, you bloody legend. Welcome back to the studio. How might you be doing?
I'm doing well. It's great to be back. I went back and watched the rest of Undead Unluck after that season. Damn, that's good. That was so much more wild than I thought it was going to be. It was worth it. Absolutely worth it. Yeah, underrated.
It feels like you know what's coming, and then constantly you go, oh, I was not expecting that.
Not at all.
That's that type of ability. Oh, that's this new character. And I love that they end up in Australia, of all places, for a hot minute too. I was fist pumping seeing some Aussie representation in anime because we get little of that.
Absolutely, yeah. No, that was a show that wasn't on my radar, and thanks to this show that got on my radar. And man, what a ride! What an absolute ride that was. So.
Hell of a ride. Speaking of good rides, is there it's been over a year now since we've sort of talked anime in an official capacity and podcast form here. But is there some things you've been watching and consuming over the last 12 months that just you feel stand above and beyond a lot of the other churn that's doing the rounds?
I think I like to think that it was a bit more unheard of, but now that I sort of talk to people, I think everyone kind of caught on to the same things. I had recommended Free Run was one that was recommended to me, which I knew nothing about, and then that was quite forcibly binged, and I was told that you have to watch it and we have to talk about it. And my God, what a masterpiece that is! That is just that is a very unique kind of show, and I feel like a lot of people don't kind of understand the premise until halfway through, and then they go, "Oh yeah, I get what's going on here. There's more. There's layers to it." And that was probably one of the best shows that I've watched. Full stop. I think, and it was just such a ride. Otherwise, I've been on the solo leveling train with everyone else. I was very lucky. I got to go to the preview screening for the movie, which is the first 2 episodes of season 2, and I got to see it on IMAX. And seeing anime in IMAX is a surreal experience in itself, but then seeing solo leveling, and it was just, I was so sold, so hyped after that. It was just a major hype. And that season 2 of solo leveling is just nothing but hype. So that's been wild. And the other thing I did is I went back and I did a retrospective watch of all of Attack on Titan.
Oh, okay.
Because they did the last few episodes they also released in cinemas, and that was again just a real surreal experience. And you go back, especially once you sort of know the plot, once you've watched it the first time, when you go back, you appreciate a lot of those smaller beats in those first sort of seasons. So I've been really kind of mainstreaming it a bit with it, but at the same time, peak content. Honestly, it's it's very hard to pick apart any of those shows and say, "Oh, I wish they did something different" or whatever. It's just so good.
Yeah, every season it feels like year after year now, we're just eating so well as anime fans. And I love that the 3 anime that you've sort of highlighted, they couldn't be more different than one another. Frieren, it's very much about the self-reflection and the quieter moments and what it is to live a life and, how do you quantify that? And it is beautiful. And even though I've only had 1 season so far, it is in my top 10 of all time already, because it's just like you said, it's so special and it just hits you so differently compared to something like solo leveling, which is great in its own right, but it is all gas and no brakes. It is just
100%.
balls to the wall all the time. We do get a little bit of quieter moment in season 2 with Sun Jinu and his mother. Won't sort of spoil anything here, but that was nice. They sort of did take their foot off the gas for at least a few seconds, then they were just back to it after that. But really, really enjoyable. And then, yeah, like being able to see not only Attack on Titan, but Solo Leveling in cinema, seeing anime in cinemas in general is just such a rare delight these days, but it's becoming more common, which I love. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, going back and seeing the journey of Eren Yeager and his crew and how it all shapes, and yeah, those sort of little quieter moments and subtle beats that you didn't pick up on that first viewing, go, oh, there's a tell. How did I not see that? That connects this whole thing together.
Yeah, it's like first time you watch it, you go, why are they spending so much time talking about this, nothing character? And then now when you get to the end, you go, I get it now. I understand. Like it was all part of the plan. It's all connected. And it's just, it's such a, I don't want to say like perfect, but like I wish more shows like would plan ahead and like, write knowing that there's a conclusion coming and like just sort of structure it properly. It's just, it's so good. And yeah, and going back to like Solo Leveling, like, yeah, there's a little bit of quiet or whatever, but like I rewatched the first season and like season 2 is just 150%, it just keeps going and it's so big. And then you think about, where they go further with that story, it's just, yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, like I'm just under the assumption that you've probably read beyond, so you know what's to come.
I've been told, but it like, and now that season 2 sort of wrapped up, and I think there's no planned release for season 3 yet, so I'll probably read ahead, to be honest, and get that, because it's also like there's like a series after the series as well, right?
Yeah, so they've done obviously the main line now, and you see the completion of Sun Jinu's story, and yeah, like you think season 2 goes some crazy places. Like you've got no idea what's to come with some of these battles and these characters and the stakes that somehow get bigger and bigger. And yet, right? Sun Jinu manages to rise to the occasion most of the time. I won't sort of spoil anything again, but it's such a great story. And yeah, they're now working through an offshoot called Solo Leveling Ragnarok,
which,
that's it. Like minor spoilers, the focus character on that is Sung Suo, and that is Sung Jinu's son. So we sort of get a bit of a leap forward and then introduced to a new character. And I like that he is very yin to his dad's yang, like where you see like Sun Jinu, he's very straight-laced and very by the book. And, he doesn't show a ton of emotion. Like he's not a fun guy, you would say, but Sun Jinu's just this like guy at college, just fun-loving, a little bit more grounded, a lot more heart on display. So it's a cool, different vibe going from Solo Leveling to Solo Leveling Ragnarok, which is ongoing. It's a sick read.
Yeah, sick. All right, now I'm keen, and I think that was like the biggest thing that kind of sold it for me is like the transition from like 1 into like season 2. It's like, oh, we're going to escalate. Like it's always going to escalate. And I'm like, okay, I'm on board. Like if it's yeah, and yeah, it does. Like there's a few story beats that they sort of slow down to let it breathe, which is nice. But then like they really don't take the foot off the gas in general.
It is a good time. Like it is the embodiment of like a popcorn anime for sure, because you just sit down, you hold on, you enjoy your snacks, and just enjoy this crazy, crazy ride that is just 0 to 100 for 20 odd minutes every time, all the time. And then a very abrupt ending every time, all the time. And you're just like,
Yeah, we should, I mean, the ending, I think that's really good. It's almost hype building in itself, because oh man, we've been going for a while, when they're going to cut us off, But and every time they just pick like, I don't know, some people would say it's the best time. I'd say it's like the worst timing, especially if you're watching it week to week, because it's rough, but it's just that kind of, I don't know, like that. It's great to feel like an anime like that has that hype as well. Like everyone who's watching, they're all hyping each other up. They're all ready to watch it, and they're all like, I love that, because there's nothing worse than being like, I'm really into this show and no one's watching it. Like it's great to have something that sort of everyone's getting behind and getting on board with.
Yeah, people can't get enough of Solo Leveling. Like we've seen that it's regularly broken the Crunchyroll servers on episode drop, and then it's now the most reviewed and highest rated anime of all time on Crunchyroll and whatnot. Like the world is embracing Sun Jinu and all the madness that surrounds him, and rightfully so, because it is just a lot of fun and it's just so enjoyable and so entertaining, and it's gorgeously animated too.
Absolutely, absolute huge fan. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been watching. I've been watching, kind of catching up on a lot of older stuff. Obviously getting hyped up for the new seasons of like Demon Slayer and that coming up. So it's like going back and getting back on board and sort of retrospective, just kind of keep that hype up. Same with like My Hero Academia is sort of, we're getting closer and closer to that sort of inevitable ending that's coming. So like it's just writing out those real S-class sort of animes at this point and just sort of watching what's recommended really. But I've just everything that I've been watching lately is just like so good. It's hard to be like, oh, I feel like I should look for something else right now because I'm just enjoying what we're watching so much. So yeah, it's so spoiled. And the one comment I will make, and I have voiced it to the sort of people because I do get to see a lot of like work in a lot of movie marketing and stuff like that, is put the stuff in cinemas, like promote them, like people will turn up, they will see it. Like it's no longer is it sort of like an anime fan, there's no stigma or anything to it. Like people celebrate it now and they turn out and they go see it. And like, I know that like Kaiju number 8's got a film going in the cinemas very shortly. And like, hell yeah, absolutely. Like more of that. Just that more like go out with friends and have that experience on the big screen. It's so cool.
The cinematic experience, even though the pricing is getting more and more and more exuberant and almost untenable, like it is still one of my favorite things to do in the world, whether it be with friends or even just, I love a good solo session as well. Like go there, get my popcorn, get a choc top and just enjoy this, storytelling, A+ S tier quality storytelling. For the most part, some animes don't do it as well as others, don't get me wrong, but yeah, just seeing it in a giant screen that is just, wall to wall. There's just nothing like it.
Nothing like it. So good.
Yeah. Yeah. And we got, like you said, we've got Kaiju number 8 in the cinemas in the next couple of weeks. We've got Jujutsu Kaisen with the recap coming into the cinemas. Yeah. And then the Demon Slayer. Chainsaw Man. And then the Infinity Castle arc. Like, we're just going to be living at the cinemas the next few months. Yes.
Eating well.
Yeah. I need to see a dietitian. I think we're going to be eating that well from all of this. But it's going to be a good time. And I think this episode 2 is going to be a good time because we're tackling an anime that is very, very much hot off the press. Like this anime only debuted last week on the 3rd/4th of April, depending on where you are in the world. But yeah, for the people that are stopping by More Than Hentai for the first time, the way this podcast works is we're going to be doing a singular deep dive on the first episode of an anime in question that at the time of sort of our discussions, either one or neither of us have seen. So we're going into this with fresh eyes for the first time, giving our thoughts, giving our feedback, whether that be good, bad, or otherwise. And I guess determining, is this worth continuing to watch? Like, is this enjoyable? Will you stick with it? Do you recommend it? Or is this maybe a major dumpster fire and you need to sort of park it after one episode? So that's the context of More Than Hentai. So yeah, first and foremost, thanks for everybody for stopping on by. If it is your first time, what the bloody hell took you so long? We do some great stuff here. But secondly, the anime in question, well, I guess you could say anime with an asterisk because some people are refusing to call this anime in question a true anime. I feel it is because the studio behind it is an Eastern-based animation studio. So there is those traditional anime ties to it. And without further ado, the anime in question is an action fantasy smash known as Devil May Cry, which was derived from a video game franchise created by Hideki Kamiya. It is primarily developed and published by Capcom, with the main entries having sold 32 million copies worldwide. The success of the video game series has led to comic books, novelizations, 2 animated series, guides, collectibles, publications, and a variety of action figures. So an anime, the second go around as far as an animated adaptation was done and helmed by Adi Shankar and Haruji Sugimoto, animated by Studio Mir, the studio behind such titles as The Legend of Korra, Voltron, Legacy Defender, X-Men 97, as well as a host of others, debuted, as I mentioned, on the 3rd of April, 2025 with a 8-episode run. Devil May Cry can be found on Netflix and currently holds a score of 7.7 out of 10 on IMDb based on just under 7,000 unique user reviews and currently holds a 94% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. If I was scoring this series, I'd give it a rock solid 7 because, minus spoilers, I have watched all 8 episodes to date. And the story of the Devil May Cry series is as follows. While being hunted by the government organization Dark Realm Command, aka Darkcom, under Vice President William Baines, Dante, a demon hunter for hire, comes into conflict with a demon-obsessed terrorist called the White Rabbit who seeks revenge upon the human race. So Zombies, episode 1 that we're going to be unpacking is titled Inferno. Let's go high level to begin with. Let's give our sort of overall thoughts on episode 1 before we maybe start jumping beat by beat and unpacking sort of what plays out in these 20-odd minutes. So what's your general impressions?
Well, I was surprised actually at sort of the pacing. The pacing was quite quick to move through what's going on. Obviously, they got a lot of lore and sort of background to set up in this universe. But first thing I noticed was the character design, and particularly around how they treat sort of the general public as kind of sort of a nothing compared to the major players who we'll get to shortly, I'm sure. But like. Yeah, and the actual Dante sort of character is it was interesting. I've played the games a little bit, and he's always sort of I don't know, kind of a broody kind of fella, but he's kind of a bit of a joker in this. He's got a real sort of comedic kind of attitude towards life in general, and I wasn't really ready for that, but as soon as they start shooting stuff in action and the sort of demons and such appear, I was 100% sold. Just the action and the way that it sort of unraveled was really cool. And there's obviously a lot of bits and pieces that they start sort of setting up quite early, introducing new characters, and there's definitely some, I guess, breadcrumbs that they're placing for future kind of story points that are coming along. But yeah, pretty much the first episode felt like a very fast setup of this is the lore, this is the world we live in, this is Dante, and this is what we got coming up. And I was all for it, to be honest.
I was the same, man. Like, it was very white knuckle. Like, right from the opening scenes, there's literal big booms and death and dismemberings and just chaos going in these first few minutes. And that doesn't slow down through the entirety of this first episode. I did appreciate the amount of world building we got. Like, they do throw a lot at us. They mention various characters and parallel universes and all these like hidden government like agencies and all that. So there is a lot to sort of take in. So I could understand if maybe you were potentially scrolling your phone at times while watching, you'd be like, hang on, who's this? Where are they from? Because there is a lot of like machine gun dialogue coming at us, and they throw a lot of characters at us in a really short amount of time in this first episode as well, which can be a little overwhelming, but it was well paced. I agree with you. Like the first iterations that I remember having with Dante in the original 2001 game on the PS2, like he was a little bit more straight-laced. Like, yeah, he was wise-talking a little bit, but this is, I guess, pre-grizzled, battle-hardened Dante, where I guess he hasn't sort of had the amount of licks that he's taken up until that point in the video game.
In the video games, because they did a reboot that didn't become canon, and then they went back and made Devil May Cry 5, and that he's more goofy, fun, kind of silly. So it's almost as if they've kind of just pulled I guess that more recent version of the character is and sort of built on that. But yeah, I didn't expect him to be like, you know, just sort of like almost like Surfer Boy kind of silly to be there. But at the same time, it kind of works like in the sort of the way that it's set up. So yeah, I'm not against it. I just didn't expect it, to be honest.
Yeah, it was very much of the vein of the DMC offshoot, which is a really fun game, and I'm sad that they've kind of retconned that and I guess gone back. Well, I guess I'm not sad because what Capcom are doing are really great with that franchise as well overall. But I did enjoy that tonal shift with Dante in that world, and
I did too.
It was same but new at the same time, which I can appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely.
I felt overall it was a rock solid first episode, good world building, gave us a lot of time with our MC, gave us some pretty cool violent and sort of epic fight scenes. We had some awesome use of music. Like, I think the use of music in this anime or this series is second to none, and we'll sort of talk about some of those songs specifically a bit later. But yeah, overall, I walked away from watching that first episode again this morning. I'm like, yeah, this is a time. This is fun. We used the terminology before, but like, yeah, this is again another franchise. It's just a good popcorn viewing where you're just enjoying your snacks, enjoying what's on the screen, and just having a good time all around.
Yeah, it feels right at home on Netflix for sure.
Oh yeah. and they're stable. That they're not only they're sort of exclusives and franchises that they're sort of I guess bringing to screen for the first time themselves is great. But also then tying in with this sort of Adi Shankar bootleg universe that he's attached to with this, and he's working on, you know, Castlevania, and he did the Far Cry Blood Dragon offshoot on there. So all the animation that this guy is tied to is fun, man. It is really fun.
Well, he's tied as producer. I think he's doing the Assassin's Creed anime that's coming up, and I think he's got, what's the other one? It's another game, Hyperlight Drifter. He's working on as well. So like he's got it figured out, honestly. And I've watched his other stuff. I watched Castlevania, I watched Laserhawk as well, and like it's all very unique, but also like very highly digestible. Like you understand what's going on. It's not pushing any kind of strangeness to it that you still sort of easy to understand. And I appreciate that he kind of makes stuff a bit more grounded, because particularly on like a Netflix audience, there's a lot of people that just scroll and go, oh, that looks interesting, and give it a go. So in a lot of cases, the people would be scrolling and go, oh, what's this new anime? And they've got one episode really to convince them to stay and keep watching the other 7 episodes. And I think they've really done a good job of sort of giving you an idea of what you're in for. So
I think so. Like, I feel that Adi Shankar has perfected his secret sauce as far as that episode 1 hook and the way he tells stories. And he's got similar like themes and tones and vibes throughout all his content. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because
no, not at all.
If you're a fan of this, you're going to love that type of thing where you know that his name's attached to it, because he's got a particular eye with how he likes to shoot and frame things, and then the use of music and crazy color and crazy violence and crassness. Like, that is a recipe that, I cannot get enough of.
Same, 100%.
Yeah, so shout out to Adi Shankar for that. But so we're going to now start shifting into the episode as a whole. So the opening scenes, we get some wide shots of the Vatican City, nice and calm, very ominous a little bit though. We see sort of some foreboding with some type of birds flying through the sky. And I'm like, oh, this is a little dark. What's going on here? And we don't have to ponder too long on those sort of dark and foreboding thoughts, because we find out the Vatican City is immediately under attack by the cousins of Sam Fisher, by the looks of things.
That's what I was going to say, the same thing. I'm like, it's Splinter Cells here. What's going on?
Yeah. So we see Sam's cronies roll in, or I guess the villainous version of Sam Fisher, because he's a great guy. They arrive on the scene, quickly blow their way through the wall of the Vatican City to get into this certain part of the Vatican itself, taking out every guard within earshot in a matter of seconds. Like, we see the old-timey Vatican guards with their silly headpieces and like lances that they're walking around in. And then, we see the Sam Fisher boys roll in and just pew, headshots and body shots, takes care of them very quickly. We then start to see this group start to pillage and plunder various treasures within this complex. And we're like, okay, what's going on here? Obviously, there's some big ticket items in there, big value, but it feels a little strange where it's like, oh, we've just got a robbery set in this demon world. What's to come? They then get interrupted by a rather freaky-looking humanoid rabbit with a monocle, who is known as the White Rabbit, which we find out, who comes in very casually, very coolly, very calmly, very collectedly, with these fancy accents coming in, immediately starts to take some pot shots at Americans, and a lot of the things he says in this little monologue is very justified, where they can't sort of grasp what's happening. It's like, oh, yeah, typical Americans. All you do is shoot, bomb, or burn anything that doesn't fit into your narrow understanding. I'm like, oh.
What a line. What a great line.
A great line. And there's a couple of really good lines in this first episode that really stood out, and I thought that was great. We then find out that Mr. Rabbit was, in fact, the one who paid these heavies to do the heist to begin with, because he's like, oh, no, you guys are only doing this for $2.5 million. And they're like, what? Hang on, what? Beg your pardon? And so we find out that he's sort of part of this grand plan, I guess, so he can sort of sneak in after they've done all the heavy lifting, because he's like, and you Americans, again, you've got no clue that one specific item in here is beyond any form of earthly value. And then he's like, it's the Force Edge. He picks it up and it's a big blade. And he's like, this is the sword of the Demon Knight Sparta, which is Sparda, not like Sparta, not to be confused there. We find out that this is like the most powerful weapon in all of hell. And you're like, okay, we're going to hell now. This is escalating quickly. And then we find out that the White Rabbit, he resides in hell. And you're like, oh, okay. And then so a battle then breaks out between the Sam Fisher Collective and the White Rabbit here. And sadly, the Soldiers of Fortune stand no chance here, because, the White Rabbit cuts these guys to ribbons within seconds, ends up then blowing up the Vatican even more. And we sort of get a little subtle fourth wall break here, where after he detonates the bomb and he's standing in amongst the rubble and the fire, looks straight down the barrel of the camera and gives a cheeky smile. And you're like, whoa, that is a big opening couple of minutes here. This guy might be the scariest bunny rabbit since the bunny from Monty Python's Holy Grail. I don't know how to feel about this guy, but this is a pretty good tone setter these first couple of minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also it's very clear that the even though they're just like elite soldiers, they're nobodies to this guy. Like, this guy is just like, no, you guys don't understand. Just don't worry about it. I'm going to put you out of misery in a moment. Don't worry about it. And it's just like, whoa, okay. So this is a serious player immediately. And the fact that they straight away is like this. We've got big stuff that's coming. Like he alludes to that they don't know what's coming, and like immediately we're talking about hell, and I'm like, okay, so we're straight up just going to be like that's on the table. It's not going to be one of those sort of things where they kind of allude to it but keep things grounded. No, we're going straight to we have another dimension. It's called hell, and this bunny's from it. Get ready, and like minutes into the first episode.
Yeah, it's full throttle right there where you're just like, man, okay, I know what's to come. I don't know if I'm ready for this. We've got, humanoid, evil, demonic rabbits. We've got the mentioning of hell. And like you said, I like that it shows that sort of power ascendancy levels there where it's like, okay, the Vatican cronies, I guess they're probably usually pretty good in their own right, easily dispatched. And then the Sam Fisher Collective, easily dispatched. Then you go, okay, who sits above this guy? Or maybe the White Rabbit is potentially the kingpin and the main big bad that's going to give everyone trouble this season. So really good tone setter. I really liked the scenes when he is using the sword of Sparta there. And there's the one shot at first where we're seeing through the head cam of one of the soldiers looking directly at the rabbit, and you see him get decapitated and you watch his head roll off. And then as he's slicing these guys up, you can see the bloodlust with the rabbit too. And there's some really cool shots where the rabbit, especially across his face, is just covered in blood from all these baddies, all these hired guns, and yet he's loving it.
Yeah. Definitely sets up that character as one to be messed with, So it's and like I believe it's like he gets surrounded by cronies before he goes sort of just blows up the place. Like he's a man with a plan. Is the other thing you take away from him immediately. Like he's already figured this all out. He's got his exit strategy. He's in. So yeah, great opening. Like honestly,
rock solid opening. And I just love, like you just said, like he's a man or a rabbit with a plan. I love I love a smart villain. Like it's all well and good that they can just rule with being strong and bloodthirsty and stuff, but you can see like, he had a plan beyond this plan where he used these people to get in, so then he could get in after them, and he already had all the explosive planted. So yeah, I like when there's some intelligence attached to our baddies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So after that, we now sort of jump across the pond and we're in New York City, and we see this woman pushing her little baby girl in a stroller down one of many shithole looking streets in New York. She's just casually minding her business, walking. It's like late evening at this time. The streets are pretty busy. She gets sort of shouldered by some rude asshole, gets knocked over, stuff falls out of her purse. And, she's like, excuse me. And typical, American or New Yorker here claps back straight away and gives her no respect, no offer to help, just pretty much blames her for this situation. So she's upset. She's sort of frantically collecting her things that have fallen out of her purse. And we sort of cut to this scene, and it's sort of a blink and you miss it moment where we see her little baby in the stroller named Ellie. Gorgeous little kid, by the way. Like she's a cute little character. We see her just doing a little baby thing. It sort of flashes, and then she's gone from the stroller, and you're like, uh-oh, what's going to happen? And then again, like flashes back all within the span of like 2 seconds, and she reappears in the stroller again. You're like, okay, I've got questions. I don't quite understand what's happening here.
I've got questions.
But I'm like, okay, this is not going to end well. I felt that straight away. I'm like, anytime there's children involved in something a little darker, it's usually either really eerie for me or it's not going to end very well. So after the mum sort of takes stop, gets all the stuff back together, puts it into a purse, she sees that Ellie, the baby, has dropped her rattle, and it sort of somehow managed to roll all the way down a dodgy side alley. So instead of the mum going, you know what, I'm going to ignore the bad vibes, I'm just going to go home, she's like, no, all right, we're going to get this. It's your favorite rattle. Stop doing this, Ellie, yada, yada. And so she goes down this alleyway. She's then quickly greeted by 3 low-level demons, and they're sort of like, almost like low-level crony, entry-level Grim Reapers sort of in their aesthetic. Yeah. They're like, shrouded in shadow. They've got like little skull face / masks on, little creepy. And we sort of see the demons here. One of them like grabs her by the throat and like lifts her up. And so you can see that they're strong again. We don't have to wait too long because we're then introduced to our lead character, the wise talking silver-haired aficionado known as Dante. He rolls on in, swiftly deals with these 3, but before he starts getting in on the attack, drops a little Three Stooges reference to these demons. And then we see him whip out his sort of fabled dual pistols, starts going to town with these guys, takes them out. Post-shootout, he tries to workshop a line about Skeletor to the mum, who is still very shaken, which I pop for. Like, love me some He-Man. Growing up in the 80s and 90s, was just a good vibe and a good flashback to me there. And obviously with the He-Man spin-off on Netflix, it makes sense they're going to name drop some IP on there. So shout out to Kevin Smith, who was helming all that. So we get that. And then he lets the mother know after, dropping that Skeletor quip that he's actually a demon hunter. So, ain't got to worry. It's all good. Dante then realizes that the baby Ellie that we mentioned, she's actually been replaced by a demon, whips out a gun, points it at the baby's head, and is about to shoot this demon baby, only to cop a purse in the face from the mother. Somehow knocks him over enough to allow the mother to escape and I guess blend into the New York crowds. And so he sort of gives up and he's like, oh, God damn it. That's the end of that. And then we transition zombies into one of the best anime-related openings I've seen in years. We get some really, really cool, fun, killer imagery paired up with Limp Bizkit's 2000 smash Rollin', and they are both used to such great effect here.
Absolutely. And I did not expect to have that song becoming relevant again in this day and age, but damn, does it suits as well. Like, it just absolutely bangs and slaps. And yeah, I get a real hype builder. But going back to the alley, I have multiple questions, and none of them will be answered, I'm pretty sure. But and also in that moment, right, and when he figures out that the baby's actually a demon, I'm like, if they shoot the baby, we are in for a dark season. It's my initial thought. I'm like, there's no way that he's pulling this trigger, surely. Like, surprised me, but no, yeah, obviously it doesn't happen. But I mean, her baby's dead, right? Like,
that's my biggest question off episode 1, because, like, minor spoilers, like I mentioned, I've seen all the other subsequent 7 episodes. This baby or the mum is never really spoken of or dealt with again in this season. So that's I'd like to hope that maybe the demon just hid the baby around the corner and all is good. But, like, demons aren't good things. So I have a feeling that baby gone.
It just disappears. Like, it's there. It's definitely there at the start, and then disappears for maybe 3 seconds, and then it's replaced by the demon. And then there's a line where they're like, oh, my baby, don't kill me, don't hurt my baby. And the demon's like, what baby? And it's like, we're just going to ignore that. Like, it's the baby's dead. It has to be. Like, it's just,
and that's heavy. Like, when you say that out loud, you go, holy shit, they went there.
Yeah, they just killed the baby and gave it a nothing. Like, and also, like, if you've got someone who's like pointing a gun at your baby and going, it's a demon, do you just run off and go about your day? Or like, and then did that, because obviously the demon shows up again. It's like, so did that baby just sort of leave? And now that woman's just like, oh shit, my baby's gone? Or like, yeah. And like, I think the thing that kind of gets me the most from that whole thing, and it sort of sets up, I guess, the Dante character, is like, he's like, oh, well, shit happens. So he just sort of goes about his day. He's like, oh, I did my best. Like, what do you want from me? It's like, because he delivers like a line, like, oh, you're here to save people. He's like, oh, yeah, something like that. And then, like, I was just in the neighborhood, it's very nonchalant. It's like, he's very casual when he talks and like everything else. But then, like, as soon as he's in battle mode, it's like beast mode. Honestly, it's 2 different things, and it's really cool, kind of for building that character. But yeah, for me, I was just trying to gauge sort of how far are we willing to go in the show. Baby disappears, cool, all right, that's something. And then the whole, when he pulls the gun, I'm like, is he gonna shoot a baby in front of me? It's like, yeah. So, but he cops a handbag and then just sort of goes, oh well, shit happens.
Yeah, and she can clearly swing a handbag, because it knocks him and locks him a little silly and gives her enough time to get out of there, even though we saw how fast he could move during the battle.
Legitimately,
so,
yeah.
They always say there's a lot of secrets in handbags, so it makes a lot of sense when you see Dante get sort of clipped the way he does. But yeah, it would not surprise me, like, because Adi Shankar, he doesn't hold back with a lot of content that he makes. So if he did pull the trigger on that demon baby, like, I would not have been surprised. Like, I would have been shocked, but I would not have been surprised, if that makes sense. Because yeah, anytime you see, babies, children, or animals getting harm done to them in any form of media, like, that's a bold line to cross. Like, not many people like to do that. And he baited us with this, but yeah, we don't see Dante pull the trigger here.
Yeah, no, it was just bait in the end.
Yeah, but Limp Bizkit's rolling. Like, I did not skip the intro the entire time watching all 8 episodes, because I was just like transported back to early 2000s, playing Devil May Cry on my PlayStation 2, new metal blaring on like my TIAC CD player in my bedroom. and probably eating some Doritos at the time. Like, it's just a nostalgic portal back in time for me anytime I was
I
hearing
never
this
made
intro.
the connection that, it's like at the peak of when these games were coming out, it would have been like peak Limp Bizkit time as well. Like, it's that era, isn't it?
Yeah. And then obviously, like, we've seen it in some of the trailer work, and we get it in the anime as well. But, Papa Roach's Last Resort gets some run, and like Guerrilla Radio from Rage Against the Machine. Like, the soundtrack to this is quite the humper, I've got to say.
Well, they've got wasn't there a single for Evanescence as well? It's paired with it. It's like, that's a playlist in itself, what got going on here. So that's, I don't know, crazy. I guess they're just like, oh, well, we can sort of put whatever songs we like that kind of fits it, and away they go. And they all kind of have that. So like, you could, I go back to like, editing old anime music videos. Like, you could do it to any of those tracks easily.
Oh yeah,
it's like that right tone, right theme. So no, very cool. But yeah, Rolling, I did not expect. And when they announced it too, I saw it on Twitter, and I'm just like, I'm gonna have to watch this show.
It's so good that like just one song from our early adulthood or teenage years, or whenever you discovered it, can just have that kind of hook and pull and that gravity to it, where you're just like, all right, this is a song that I haven't thought about in 2 decades, and yet it's now attached to this new thing in 2025. I've got to go seek it out and just see if it works. And it does. It works. So fun. And I like with the opening as well is they use like a different art style and different color palette than the rest of the anime. They sort of strip it back and use a lot of like just solid blocky colors and play with some different contrasts and shades, but it works in really well with Fred Durst, rap singing as he goes about it too.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Great intro.
It's so good. It's so good. So after that, we then cross to the BBS news broadcast, which is conveniently recapping the attack by the White Rabbit over at the Vatican City from the night before. So we're getting some news broadcasters sort of explaining, the tragedy, and that they saw this, silhouetted man in wings flying above the Vatican City. And you're like, okay, I didn't for one, I'm like, again, I've got questions because I didn't see no wings on the White Rabbit. Who is this guy in question here? We don't really get that explained, but then we shift to that very stereotypical talking heads based news broadcasting that you see evidence mostly in it. Like, it's done around the world these days, but I think Americans probably really refined this shitty science. And we're seeing them try and throw blame where it's like, it wasn't us Americans. We don't have any technology like that. It's those damn dirty Russians. And then you shift to the other ones and it's like, actually, brother, like, this is God coming back to sort of make us pay for our sins. It's actually terrorist demons. And you're like, oh, that's a dumb line that I never thought I'd hear in my life. And then we cross to like late night talk show, David Letterman equivalent. And he's talking to the band guy in there. He's like, you know what? I know about terrorist demons. That's actually my ex-wife. And that was like the front man of the band called Phil. So there's a little boom tush there. But then we cross to the White House and they actually swiftly confirm this moment. Yes, it is indeed terrorist demons. And you're like, okay, that's where they're going with it. No worries, cool. And so we have like this like cloak and dagger room underground with only, I guess, the elite of the elite in there sort of discussing this situation sort of start to unfold. We find out that these terrorist demons are in fact related to Homo sapiens. So you're like, okay, I like this connective tissue. This is cool. We find out that they're actually native to a parallel universe, very similar to our own here on Earth. We then get some references in regards to that parallel universe, being known as hell, or that's, just what they're typecasting it as.
Yep.
And we're then sort of introduced to Dr. Fisher, who is working for Dark Realm Command, aka Darkcom, as sort of an advisor. And he's sort of talking through this situation, trying to give them more context where he can. And we find out that Darkcom is actually privately funded in no small part by the Vice President of the United States. And you're like, okay, not surprised again. But we also find out too that the Vice President is 100% actually ruling the country. And he is just the puppet master behind the actual president, who looks like he's ripped straight out of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, with his dumb hat and his golden hair and everything. Fantastic looking vibe. And we find out here, before I throw it over to you, that the Vice President goes on to say that the holy war is upon us, that they must wrangle up every demon hunter they can to prepare for said holy war. I really enjoyed the swift world building in this scene
Very
here,
quick.
where we get a lot of stuff thrown at us. But Dr. Fisher, like we were talking about good lines, he throws this line out during this conversation where he goes, mythology exists to explain reality. And I'm like, how have I never sort of thought like that before? Like, it makes so much sense. And again, it really just resonated with me. But I enjoyed this sort of, underground cloak and dagger espionage discussion with all these people.
They were very quick to be like, all this mythology stuff and all this sort of supernatural stuff that we're about to show you, this is where it's all grounded very quickly. And they're like, it's science. Like, they literally just say, science, this is why. They explain it immediately. And they also give us a lot of context and lore around this other world, the demon world, and sort of how that's come to be, or how that's sort of related to their history. And then I think it's a massive lore dump, and then I think it's the president comes out and he's like, "Oh, all the last guy I had to worry about was Saddam Hussein." It's like, that is, yeah. They're like, what a line, you know? It's like again, I don't know if it's like a common theme, but again, it's just like the Americans are like, you know, they're very much painted of they're very simple kind of folk, and they do these sort of things, and then we've got the Darkcom guys being like, no, everything's explained. We know what's going on. This is big. This is trouble. You need to, you know, take this seriously. So I did appreciate that they don't waste any time, and there's not a lot of fluff there. It is straight to the point. This is what's going on, setting everything up as if we're sort of coming into the story halfway through almost. So, and yeah, it's very quick and very done. And obviously Darkcom is going to play a bigger role in the sort of the greater lore around everything else, and the whole rounding up of the hunters as well sort of immediately says, okay, well, they know that these demons exist, they know that demon hunters exist, there's like a way that we can find them or hire them or bring them in, and then that sort of opens us up again, setting up this world where with the demon hunters there's hell, there's demons that have crossed over, and, you know, hunters that hunt them. So very quickly, again, we're only minutes still.
It made me feel really good, like where, they were like heavy on the lore here, but they were spoon feeding us into a way where you're like, any question you almost sort of have come to mind, they're like, here's the answer. And then you're like, but what about, here's the answer. What about, here's the, like, it was really, really well done. And it was just follow the breadcrumbs. And by the end of that sort of back and forth in this, you know, White House bunker, I'm like, okay, I get this. Like, I've no, like, and got familiarity from the video games, obviously, but they have gone and taken some liberties here and there with the story in this sort of 8-episode run. But I left that scene going, okay, cool, I get it. These guys know about demons. They explained to us, that there's science related to this, where we're, I guess, distant relatives in a way. And, you know, there was a parallel universe here, and we get some more context on that sort of parallel universe and what happened with that back in the day very shortly. But I'm like, cool, I get it. I'm invested. And then we see, after he mentions, they've got to sort of wrangle every demon hunter they can. We get like this really quick montage of all these demon hunters getting sort of taken in or captured or just asked to come in, I guess. Some a little bit more heavy-handed than others as far as getting taken down by Darkcom there. I did pop because we get a very quick cameo of Lucia, who is a fantastic character from the game franchise. We don't see her much more in this episode, and we're going to avoid saying anything for future, but that made me pop a little bit because I loved her in the video games. And so we see them getting captured all over the world. This scene only goes for maybe 30 seconds, and then we're sort of thrown back to New York, and we see Dante is casually arriving at a diner, ready for his usual ice cream sundae. So he rolls on in. He's got the ice cream sundae waiting for him on the counter. The diner staff member clearly crushes on Dante very hard. She knew he was coming, knew what his order was, and also left his number there for him to call should he choose. Okay, yep, we see that this Silver Fox is quite the ladies' man, and you know, he's got that swag, he's got that charisma and that machismo. So I totally get it. Like, you know, he's a hot boy, he's a badass, and he loves a Sunday. So what's not
he also just wipes his mouth with the napkin with the phone number on it. Just ignores it completely. He's like, oh, phone number, cool. Anyway.
I love that. Like, and you know what? Man's got priorities. He's like, you know what? I'm here to eat this Sunday, deal with women another time. But it was just a good vibe. But sadly, we don't get to see him enjoy this delicious looking sundae because out of nowhere, a fuel tanker gets thrown at the diner, smashes into the side of the diner, explodes. He manages to, you know, get the diner girl out as well as a couple of the patrons there, gets them out of the firing line, make sure they're safe. And we have a big moment here where we see who threw, or at least we think we see who threw the fuel tanker at them, and you see that it's his brother Virgil, and you're like, I beg your pardon, we're getting him already? Big reveal. Is this the new big bad? But we also find in this moment, because Dante's like, it can't be you, like you're dead. And we find out, like we mentioned the character earlier, that this is not Virgil. This is that goddamn shape-shifting demon baby back again. And I had in my notes here, I'm like, I do wonder if Ellie, the baby, and the mother are actually okay at this point, because again, no mention of them, no references to them. We just hope for the best that they manage to escape and go on a holiday somewhere. So
we'll just assume that. We'll just make that canon. They didn't say otherwise, so they're fine. They're living happy ever after somewhere else. It's fine. It's definitely...
they do give us some context, because this demon shapeshifter, they're known as Plasma. And we do find out like later in the series, like it's a spoiler, but it's a major spoiler, where it's sort of like, in order for me to assume the appearance and the I won't say the personality, but the representation of a character, that character needs to be alive. So at least we know that the baby's alive while he was the baby, but now that he's Virgil for this moment, you're like, is the baby gone? Is the mother gone? Like you said, let's make it canon.
I did immediately wonder that as soon as I saw the character and then knew it was a shapeshifter. I'm like, I wonder if that's the kind of person that can shapeshift after he kills someone, or is it like, so yeah, you've answered that question. But yeah, I did imagine that immediately. I'm like, there'll be something here for sure. And obviously, yeah.
And like shifts into its demon form, and then swiftly like just bails down a vent in the diner. Dante's frustrated at this moment. We then cross back to all the captured demon hunters who are all detained, and a lot of them are very beaten. They're clearly trying to, like, they're getting probed for information from Darkcom here and from the vice president, trying to work out, what's happening in regards to White Rabbit and this holy war that's about to be on our doorstep. We find out in this moment that Enzo Farino was working with the White Rabbit, and so we sort of get a crossover to this little slimy, like, underworld figure who's clearly like just a point man that's running a lot of gigs. Like, he's 4 foot nothing, average looking, just sleazy and skeezy. And so we get introduced to this guy, and you're like, all right, I know that he's going to stick around for a little bit because he's got that type of vibe and that kind of aesthetic. And we find out that he was working with the White Rabbit on a particular job that the White Rabbit would also only accept that Dante be a part of. So you're like, okay, why? What makes Dante so special for this? And during this sort of back and forth, we've got Dr. Walker talking with the vice president. And I've got to say, vice president is voiced by Kevin Conroy, by the way. This was his last role before he passed away a couple of years ago. So it was awesome to see the only animated Batman out there, in my opinion. Like, Kevin Conroy is Batman. So it was nice to sort of hear him add some weight and some levity to this role, because the vice president, he is a bit of a, imposing prick. Like, he's got that vibe about him. But we find out that, Dante has been earmarked by the White Rabbit to be part of some type of job. We don't understand why, because, Dr. Fisher's like, it's kind of a little weird that Dante's been sort of wrangled into this role here, because he's gone AWOL on 5 different jobs just simply due to boredom. Like, he's partway through the mission. He's like, no, I'm done with this. See you later. I'm going to go eat a sundae or play Dance Dance Revolution. Yeah,
legitimately. I mean, it's almost to the point where you go, okay, has this guy got ADHD or something? Like, what's happening here? And when you sort of look at his character, he might. So, but it's very quickly, it opens up a lot of questions immediately, especially with the diner scene. First of all, like, he senses that the truck is being thrown and almost stops time to like move around. I'm like, okay, shit, we're getting a feel for the powers immediately here, which is that he's almost superhuman in the terms of way that sort of his speed alone. And then obviously as he's introduced into the shapeshifter, it's a matter of like, he's obviously sees his brother, and it's quite confronting and sort of throws him off his game. But as soon as it enters beast mode, he's on, and like, he can handle himself. And again, I think the creature itself is sort of like, he legs it, goes down to the there's a fuel tanker explodes in that diner, and it's kind of minimal damage when you think about it, but it's like it's a very interesting plot. But yeah, you get a feeling immediately for like the powers and stuff, and then sort of how I guess a lot of this sort of fighting and stuff is going to happen, because they don't spend any time sort of being like, this is Dante's powers, he's been doing this for X amount of time or anything like that. He just kind of shows up, and he's just all talk and business, and that's it. And there's we don't get any sort of context or anything to him. So this is really all we have to gauge on are these initial sort of fights as to the skills that we know, which is that he's super quick and pretty good with dual pistols.
And yeah, so after we sort of get the information from Enzo Farino and Dr. Walker talking about how he just ghost jobs due to boredom and other distractions, we sort of flash back to Dante with Plasma, the demon shapeshifter, and they are having a little bit of a scuffle. And like you said, like we see his pistol work, and he hasn't quite got the ebony and ivory pistols yet, which we sort of come to know in the video games, like he's got such a cool kit in the games. And I'm excited to sort of see some of that get further explored in future episodes. Yeah, so they're having a little jostle, and he does punch the demon Plasma, like punches him flush. And you can see then, like you mentioned, like we see almost like the sixth sense and the super speed. And then you see that he's got some pretty mean strength behind his fist because he levels Plasma into the wall and like turns this shape-shifting demon into just a puddle of goop on the ground. And he's like, not in a good way, old Plasma, in this moment. And they're sort of having a bit of a back and forth here. And Plasma, again, we get another cool line here where he's like, I find this very ironic that I am the shapeshifter and yet you don't even know who you are. Yeah. And then he transforms into a bat and flies away. And you're like, what?
That's a heavy line. That's a heavy line. This comes out of nowhere. It's like, damn. But it's also Dante has a great line in that. It's like, you should have stuck to being the creepy baby that was going.
There's some good zingers, like the writing and the comedic timing, not only in this first episode, but throughout the 8 episode that we've got so far. They really, really hit. Like I feel they hit more than they miss as far as the zingers. They know when to throw them in and know when to then add these like more deep lines that make you pause and go, whoa, that was well thought out. Like that's got my brain wrinkled right now.
And also it's hard to like, once he runs off, like it goes down to the back of behind the cafe, and then Dante comes in and does the underworld thing where he spins around with the guns and shoots a circle in the floor. I'm like, that's a clear reference. Are we just a little hat tip there? Are we going for? Or it's also just one of the coolest shots there is ever.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like if we somehow get a Devil May Cry / Underworld crossover, or we have Celine running around with Dante, like my heart will not be able to handle that. Like I will just die on the spot.
Maybe that's what he's aiming for. Is this a little hat tip? Go, hey, if you're interested.
God. Yeah, that bodysuit. Anyway. Don't want to get into more trouble than already am. Okay, so we have Plasma shifts into bat form, flies off through the hole in the ceiling that Dante, very stylistically shot through doing his Underworld impression. We then sort of flash back again to the Darkcom offices, and we see the vice president informing Enzo that they've actually already tracked down the White Rabbit and sent a team after him. But we find out that during said mission that no one, bar one of the sort of, I guess, special forces operatives survived this run-in with the White Rabbit. So again, you go, okay, so the best of the best of the best when it comes to America's heavy hitters can't take down this White Rabbit. Who's going to stop this big bad? Yeah. And then we sort of start to get a little bit more world building and lore in regards to what's happening in hell. And we find out through some discussions from Enzo, but also some context that the vice president is slinging around, that Sparta, he actually sided with the humans like eons ago, because obviously there was that clear sort of portal between hell and earth back then. And, hell were planning on sort of invading earth and I guess enslaving everybody. But Sparta went, you know what? I'm not about this life. And so he actually goes up and fights against hell. And he creates a barrier or a wall between the realms because he casts this big spell. And the spell was only managed to be created by the use of his sword, which obviously we saw the White Rabbit grab at the start, as well as an amulet that had a gem in the middle, which has since been split in two. And so what the White Rabbit is trying to do is now he's got the sword. We've already actually seen half of a gem hanging around his neck already. He's trying to get this final piece to then reconnect the sword so he can smash down the wall and then I guess open the gates to hell to bring about Armageddon. So you're like, whoa, the stakes are getting bigger and bigger by the minute here. We're talking about Armageddon. We've got holy wars. We've got demons. We've got sentient humanoid rabbits. We've got a demon hunter that loves, ice cream sundaes. Like there's a lot to sort of unpack here. And so then we sort of meet the sole survivor from the White Rabbit mission named Anders. And he starts to give us a little bit more context from this mission. And he was like, you know what, the White Rabbit disclosed some information while I was there and sort of gave me some tips that I can provide yourselves from the information I gleaned. And he tells the Vice President, Dr. Fisher, that Dante has the other half of the amulet, which is going to potentially go about bringing Armageddon to Earth. And you're like, whoa, okay, we've got everything in place. We know what the stakes are. We know what's going on. And I love that after we get this big sort of reference to a holy war and Armageddon and I guess hell on earth that's impending, we then sort of flash back to Dante, who's in his loft apartment in New York, and he's just casually playing a couple of rounds of Dance Dance Revolution. He's got a very fancy, beautiful hat on as he's sort of cutting all kinds of moves. Sadly, it was more all show and no go because he gets a D rank on his final score, leads to a game over, and that's where the credits sort of start rolling in here. So we go from a big, holy shit, Armageddon is upon us to a little dance number and then the credits. Like the stakes can't get much bigger than this.
And it moves quick. Like like they literally go from the fight with the shapeshifter and then they go to, what's the story with this rabbit? And I do appreciate they have a line. It's like, well, it's a giant rabbit. We can find them. Like, of course we found him. It's like, what do you mean? Good. And then it's just immediately cuts to, I'm like, oh, here we go. So they're going to go try and capture the rabbit. No, they're already dead. It's already over. And like, it's already gone to this person. And they throw around a few throwaway lines, which are obviously just sort of breadcrumbs, but they mention that they go to Dante and they quickly look into his past and they say, oh, this is Dante, his mother and his twin brother were killed by demons. It's like, oh shit, okay, but like we don't hold on that, we just keep moving. Like it's like we'll get to that later, obviously, don't worry about it, and then very quickly just putting the stakes in the ground and sort of saying this is where we're at. And clearly also the bunny wanted he wants the hunter brought to him. And then they've obviously putting 2 to 2 together and saying, well, everyone's talking about this Dante fella. He's talking about a hunter. Dante's a hunter. So this is who we're looking for. And then it's all crystallized in the sense that, hey, he's got the crystal. So it's very quickly putting all these pieces on the board, but also like explaining why they're there, what's going on. And in such a way that everyone can quite understand it. But also it doesn't stop to be like, okay, well, we're going to just, think about this for a little bit. It's like, no, this, get this all together. And then the exclamation point is, okay, it's like basically the entire world is in the hands of Dante, and then it just cuts. He's playing Dance Dance Resolution.
So much whiplash, but it was also so great. And I think those sort of bookended scenes just really embody this world and this story so well, where you've got crazy world-ending stakes where there's, hell on earth that's literally about to rain down on us all. And then you've got a demon hunter who's just playing DDR and living his best life. And obviously he'll sort of step up and have a crack when he needs to. But outside of that, he's just worrying about himself and trying to get a high score.
Yeah. Legitimately, and I mean, it goes back to that. He gets bored. And I suppose, obviously, I haven't seen the rest you have, but from my perspective, it feels like they're kind of setting him up as he's just sort of living day by day, doing his own thing. He has this dark history and obviously probably unresolved history with demons, and that's probably why he's a demon hunter, given his mother and twin brother were killed by demons. And then obviously he got the gem somehow. And he does mention to the shapeshifter, he's like, you're very interested in this gem that you're trying to, get. Like he's starting to put things together, but I think it's probably not going to be like the government's not going to knock on his door and be like, hey, can you give us a chop out here? We need your help. Like that's not going to happen. He's not going to be interested in that. But it might be a matter of, maybe he can resolve some of his past, something to do with his mother or his brother, and that's going to be his driving factor. And maybe that just aligns with saving the world while he does it. And I'm for me, that's like I'm sold. I'd like to see where this is going and do it. Is there probably like more? Like I feel like we're keeping it quite light in the sense of like we already know what the directive of the bad guys is, what they're trying to achieve, and how they're going to achieve it. We already know where all the pieces are. It's just a matter of like sorting all that out. There's no like overwhelming thing where like, oh, this is going to be 4 seasons. Like I feel like we're going to get everything pretty rapidly, nicely tied up in a bow by the end of the season, maybe a few unanswered and hope for a second season or whatever. But definitely like from the pace and everything that is explained, we're already ready to go, and it's just a matter of now just moving through the paces and seeing sort of where that all ends up. But yeah, from that first sort of episode, and definitely once we get through that lore drop where they sort of the government agency now knows that Dante's kind of the key to all this, I'm like, all right, I'm on board. I can see where this is going. It's not a question of what's going to happen next. We sort of get an idea which direction we're going, and yeah, 100% on board with it, to be honest.
It feels like they've given us 90% of the puzzle pieces in this first episode. We've just sort of got to work out what fits and where and why. And there's there is some good twists and turns along the way. But yeah, I do appreciate that they can tell so much story within 20 odd minutes here, where
Legit.
You understand the stakes, you understand enough about the main character and the main villain and their motives and who they are and how they came to be for the most part. But we do get a good amount of backstory and some really cool storytelling for not only sort of our two leads from a villain and a hero perspective, but also some of the other characters they introduce us to along the way. There's some cool characters that we sort of get familiar with in the next episode and then throughout future episodes. Like we see a lady named Mary get some focus, and she sort of got the different colored eyes, and she's obviously from the video game world as well. Like they handle her good for the most part, but there is some things where I'm like, maybe a little less of that. But anyway, that's a minor bugbear. But yeah, first episode was really fun. I think it was really well paced. It sort of checked all my boxes that I'm looking for initial hook, as far as it looked good, it sounded good, it was paced well. When we got the violence and the combat, it looked good, and it felt very much like the game. Like it was very stylized. Like remember playing the games and you watch your combo counters go up and you go from, like you're obviously trying to get like a triple S rank, and the more cool you are in the air and mixing in the guns and the sword and stuff.
I did appreciate like 1 minute into it, they've got as soon as the rabbit gets the sword, he starts deflecting bullets. I'm like, yes, this is what I'm about. Straight from the game. I do appreciate that.
Yeah, so there was a lot of head nods and homages to sort of moments and things that we're used to from this video game world, and they've sort of reimagined some other things to keep it fresh and keep us on our toes. But overall, I think it was a goddamn rock solid first episode. And if I hadn't watched Beyond, I'd definitely keep watching. And I'm assuming you're going to keep watching.
Definitely, yeah, very soon. In fact,
hell yeah, yeah. We got to wrap up right now. He's hit play on episode 2. All right, so that's sort of the main question. Like, it feels like this is very much an anime that's worth watching. Like, we've really enjoyed it. It's true to the source material, but also keeps things a little fresh in some ways. It's visually pleasing, it's audibly pleasing, and it's crass and silly and funny and serious at all the right times.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think it's a good mix. And like going back to that, it's a popcorn anime in the sense that you could really just like sit back, digest a few episodes, while you're eating, chilling out, whatever. And like the plot is there, like enough to sort of understand just on the fly, and there's obviously nuggets there if you really kind of pay attention to the details and sort of what's happening in the greater stuff. And I appreciate all that, but it definitely follows that almost like that Netflix anime kind of formula that they've almost perfected at this point, where you get what you get in that first episode is now that okay, I'm in. Or like if you watch that first episode, oh, that's not for me. Well, it's probably not for you, because like they've done their best, they put everything they can, and they pumped it into a very tight episode. And like I appreciate that fact that they're not just sort of setting it up as kind of a willy-nilly introduction to a character. Like they could have done an origin story and stuff like that. I'm glad that they didn't. We just sort of went straight into this world, and they gave us as much information as they could immediately, and I appreciate that, because I'm so done with origin stories.
Yeah, they can get so detrimental to the content, like especially if you're getting thrown in right off the rip. Like I don't mind them peeling back those layers throughout the story or little pieces here and there, but not opening. Like don't go with young Bruce Wayne getting assassinated as they leave the theater and stuff.
Yeah. Bloody, we've seen it so many times. We know what happened. All right, it's just cut to the good parts. So I do appreciate that we sort of jumped straight into the action, and like there's no origin story for the rabbit, there's no origin story for Dundee. It's literally, we're in, there's conflict already happening, and this is we're just catching you up. And absolutely great. And I can peel back stuff later, that's totally fine, but I just feel like there's way too many shows where the first episode is, this is how I got your powers. It's like, okay, cool, that's not the interesting bit. So I do appreciate that they've done that. And I think from a perspective, and like I said, I've played the games a bit. I'm not the massive fan of the Devil May Cry series, but I think for the most part, they've adapted the character and like the feel of the games quite well. I know that maybe if you're just a diehard fans, maybe the first few games, like the PS2 era sort of games, they're a little bit more like fantasy kind of that kind of side of the things where, you know, he gets his pistols and he's more grounded sort of stuff from the kind of feels like from the reboot onwards. So from DMC to Devil May Cry 5. But I think they've done a really good job of adapting that. And I'm a big I don't know, I'm going to say critic because I don't want to say fan, but I'm a big critic of like video games turn other media and turn particularly movies and stuff like that. And when I say critic, because I very love to criticize when they just get it so wrong. And it's like, what were you thinking? And I feel like you can see what they've done here, which is they've gone to the source material. They've stuck with the lore. They're stuck with the story. They're not going to, they're not trying to change anything. They're not trying to they're just kind of be like, okay, we're going to ground it, make it make sense to a general audience. And they've done all that, but they're keeping all the good stuff still, which I absolutely appreciate. And I think that's kind of the it's the same with Castlevania and that, where it's like we've taken a video game that can be quite convoluted when you look at the greater lore of it. We simplified it, made it into something very highly digestible and sort of done. So I know that when the show first dropped, there was a few people quite vocal on Twitter in particular, and they're like, they've missed the point of the games and so on. But I feel like you can't always do like a 1-to-1 conversion from video game to particularly like an anime and being like, yeah, it's going to make sense to everyone. It's like, well, you don't play games, and also games tend to be longer than 20-minute episodes, so it's very hard to get all the context and all the information in there. That being said, they fit a lot of information in this first episode, so they're doing really well.
I think so.
Yeah, I feel it's a very, very faithful adaptation, and I mean, reviews saying around that 7 to 8 out of that makes sense to me, honestly. It'd be very hard sell to make Devil May Cry be like a popular mainstream, everyone loves it kind of title. It's been niche and always will be niche, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, I think like you mentioned, like Netflix and even like Adi Shankar and the stuff that he's attached himself to, like they've just really refined the art of table setting. Like within that first episode, like you said, they just give you everything laid out in an accessible way. They simplify some of the lore and the characters because some of these franchises can be so dense, and video games can be 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 hours potentially. And when you've got, Nelly, I think a dozen or so entries into that franchise mainline or spin-off these days, like there is a lot of fans to try and appease to there. And they're not going to sort of check a box for everybody, but I feel that 7 to 8 out of 10, like they're going to appeal to 70 to 80% of the audience as far as with what they've done here.
Exactly. It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. So we'll shift into our last word presented by our friends over at Ice-T Aesthetics, the perfect fusion of anime and streetwear. Go cop yourself a few pieces of their free run drop today. And while you're there, be sure to use code Sakura Society 5. That is the number 5 at the end at checkout to save yourself some cold hard cash. But zombies, what is your last word, your last words, your last thoughts on the Devil May Cry anime?
I'm surprised, to be honest. I didn't expect. Like I said, it's very much a niche sort of thing, and it's very much a very like fantasy sort of thing. The fact that it was the Andy Shankar and the guys who did the Netflix for Castlevania and stuff like that, I had high hopes. But it's at the same time, this show is set primarily in New York and like in a very modern sort of timepiece and stuff like that. So the way they sort of handle it, it's good. I feel like it's a lot of fun, which I appreciate. That the action's good. They stay true to this sort of source material. There's a lot of information. It's spoon fed to you, so you don't have to go looking for questions or answers. You don't have to watch a YouTube recap after each episode to figure out who's who and what they do. And it's just the fact that you can sort of sit back and absorb all the information and all the action, and well as having those sort of zingers and those strong one-liners that make you stop and go, "Ooh, damn, that's pretty good. That's a good line." That to me, it's just good television and good storytelling. So, it wasn't on my list, but it's definitely on my list now to finish watching all of Devil May Cry on Netflix, which I think is 8 episodes.
Eight episodes, yeah. So it's an easy, digestible viewing experience. Like if we're going to stick to the last word, my word I'm going to use to describe my viewing experience, not only from episode 1, but right through to episode 8, I'm going to say content. I left feeling very content after watching this. Like, it's not the best thing I've ever watched. It is by far not the worst thing I've ever watched. Like, it was enjoyable. It's right in line with that, 7 to 8 out of 10 scoring threshold. And I had a good time with it and left feeling very content.
Excellent. Well, I'm convinced to watch it.
I love that. But dude, that brings us to the official end of this episode. Did you want to shout out anything you've got coming up? I know you've got a few sort of coals in the fire. Hopefully they're getting more realized and that flame is getting larger and about ready to sort of burn us all in a good way, in a metaphorical way, of course.
The creative process is never ending. Always come up with good ideas, but absolutely a lot of streams, a lot of games coming up, and a few great ideas. I'm working on a new podcast, sort of to something a little bit different to what I've done in the past, which I've been involved with a few projects, but definitely keep your eyes out for that. But yeah, you can find me everywhere. Zombies LB Bacon. And I'm regularly streaming on Twitch, regularly posting on Instagram and TikTok and everywhere else. And yeah, if you like anything anime, games, movies, or anything that crosses between the three, come and have a chat. Always down for it. I'm very much plugged in with what's happening in terms of movies and TV and pop culture stuff that's coming up. And anime for me is a very much a personal sort of a thing. It's something I'm very passionate about. I'm a firm believer in that some of the best stories you will find in anime. And if you're busy watching some mainline TV shows and going, oh, it's pretty average, maybe stop doing that and watch some anime instead.
I agree with you 1000% there. Anime and video games are the best vessel for competent storytelling in the world, in my opinion. Like, there's just such a bigger canvas that can be painted and you can do some really crazy, unique things that you can't do in live action. So yeah, if you're looking for something outside of your usual viewing, or you're sick of White Lotus or Severance or whatever, go down the anime path and you're going to find some stuff that's going to rival those and potentially exceed those from a quality enjoyment standpoint, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, one last question. Didn't preempt you for this at all, but I'd like you to recommend something for us to watch, whether it be anime related, a game, can be one of the classics. Obviously, we mentioned a couple of bangers that you've been watching lately as well. But when you sort of think about like an anime to recommend to somebody, what's the first thing that comes to mind as far as you need to watch this, whether you're an anime fan or not?
Whether you're an anime fan or not. Well, I actually recently spent some time with someone who has never ever watched anime, and I had this like, I'm like, trying to figure out exactly what to watch, and thoughts went through my head of like Demon Slayer or My Hero Academia or Chainsaw Man, or like all these S-class things. But then I'm like, if you only get to watch one episode of that, is it going to be enough to convince them to go, yeah, storytelling in anime is very strong. Anyway, I landed on, we watched Your Name, and it was as beautiful and painful at the same time as I remember it. It's still an absolute banger. And anything like, some of those movies in particular, just incredible. But Your Name, in terms of, if you're listening to an anime podcast and you haven't watched Your Name, what are you doing? First of all, because I think everyone should have seen it by now, surely. But that is like peak storytelling and just an absolute beautiful story and everything else through it. And yeah, recently watched that, and she was more than impressed with it, and it's just So there you go. There's something for if you haven't watched it, that's like a must, in my opinion.
Yeah, and once you finish watching Your Name, check out some other Makoto Shinkai stuff with Suzume that came out, and obviously he's working on another film that's as yet sort of announced, but he's got something that he's planning to sort of come out in the next 12 to 18 months as well. Like, he's a very talented son of a gun, and yeah, Your Name. Yeah, it'll leave you feeling something, that's for damn sure. And Suzume as well, like, yeah, just gorgeous vessels for storytelling, and some of the prettiest things you'll ever see as well.
Yeah, and a story, and we're not going to give away the sort of the plot, but like Your Name's like story beats, particularly how it's sort of all revealed and everything else. It's peak. Like, it's, and again, I go back to like you could watch 100 normal Western movies and sort of not get that level of storytelling that comes from just an anime about, two people, connecting. So it was a very powerful sort of story, and just such a beautiful story. And Suzume is like a wild ride if you haven't seen that as well. It's an amazing piece of cinema. So
yeah, who doesn't want to watch a movie about a sentient chair? Like it's great, and that's underselling it, but it's a crazy little wrinkle.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so good. But yeah, thank you so much for stopping on by, man. I know you're a busy boy, and yeah, be sure to follow Zombies on all those socials because he's up to many, many things on many, many days. You'll see him at, film premieres, streaming, podcasting again very shortly, hopefully sooner rather than later. And all his links are in the show notes. So click on through and say g'day. On the topic of links, obviously rate, review, subscribe this podcast as well as all the other podcasts you listen to on the regular. Those ratings and reviews, they take you no time to do. They cost you no money. And it is positive karma that you can pay forward to content creators and podcasters like ourselves. So do that. It is the bare minimum. If you want to throw some money into the Sakura Society bucket, you can do over at patreon.com/Sakura Society or over at sakurasociety.co/shop, where we've got a ton of fantastic merchandise you can get in and around your body. But listeners, viewers, Sugoi Squad, whether your anime be subbed, dubbed, or still yet to come, enjoy yourself, stay hungry, and much love to all the gorgeous waifus and husbandos out there. Goodbye.
See you later.